Great lineup today. I hope you guys are going to enjoy what you hear. Three really different, diverse carriers. Couple of them, all three of them are actually working in the cloud. But we're going to start it off with Rackspace and then BCN and Star to Star. So Rackspace, these guys are absolutely crushing it out there. If you are not talking about cloud to your customer base, you are missing the boat. You definitely have to start talking about cloud. It's where the heavy spend is, and I'm not going to steal any of their thunder, but Justin is the expert of how to pull every piece of cloud business out of an opportunity, and he's the man. So here you go, brother.
Thank you, sir. All right. Good morning, everybody. So first of all, welcome, and I want to thank TCG for the opportunity. A little factoid for you. Last year in 2018, TCG closed more opportunities than any other master agent in the channel nationwide. Okay? All right. Dan mentioned spend before we kick off. The average ARPU for a channel deal with Rackspace is anywhere between $10,000 to about $12,000, $15,000. So there is a lot of spend there. Before I get started, I want to make sure that I introduce two of my colleagues, Brian Funkhauser, and the Funk, and Mercedes. So a little bit about my role. So I'm the regional leader for channel at Rackspace. We have a little bit of a different model because cloud can be a little bit complicated. So we don't expect you guys to get a training or onboarding and just go and do it. So we have a sell with model. So if you have an opportunity that is in our enterprise space, which we classify as a client that you might have that bills or has more than 500 million annual revenue, that is considered enterprise. And Mercedes will go from cradle to grave with you on that. And if it's below 500 million, that's what we call SMB or mid-market, a little different than telco. And Mr. Funkhauser takes the lead on that. Okay? So Brian, you're going to come up and help me out here? Sure. Okay, great. All right, so to get started, I kind of want to demystify it a little bit. A lot of folks get worried about cloud. Everybody calls themselves cloud these days. How many people sell data center? Right, data center, anything like? All right. So cloud is just data center. It's just somebody else's data center, right? So I'll get into a little bit more about who we are and what we do. I'm going to try to go macro to micro and make it as meaningful as possible. But some key attributes is with cloud, it's charged as a utility, right? So scalability, agility, very automated. So I'll give you a case study real quick. So one of our clients, Under Armour, everybody knows who they are. Big e-commerce online retailer. If they were going to do their infrastructure in-house, they'd have to rack and stack enough servers to meet the need for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Not really an economic move to make. So with a cloud infrastructure as a service, they can scale up, scale down, pay as a utility for what they need. They don't have to deal with all that hardware. Okay. So why should we all care about cloud and infrastructure? Because as Dan mentioned, if you're not talking with your clients about cloud, someone else is. It's supposed to reach 411 billion is a market demand by opportunity by 2020. 80% of the enterprise clients out there have yet to migrate their applications to the cloud. Okay, there's some reasons for that, and we'll get into that. Again, well, the average, they updated my slides for me. It's good news, though. So the average ARPU is 15 to 20 now in the channel is our latest snapshot. Okay? Go ahead. All right, so, what we ask you to do is just have a business conversation with your clients when you're talking about infrastructure as a service. Please don't get technical. It's really the wrong conversation to have as an entry. It's the same business conversations that you have with your clients every single day. They all want to do the same thing, regardless if you're talking about network or a voice application or infrastructure. They want to increase their revenue, lower their costs. They want to innovate, make it simpler, and reduce some risk. Now, every year there's a survey to the Fortune 1000 CIOs, and they ask them what are their top concerns, right? This is meaningful. There are 6 of them up here. I put little green stars because that means money by my 3 favorites. So as we take a look, exiting the data center business, managing IT talents, modernizing, rationalizing apps, let's take a couple of them and drill down. So managing IT talent. Just a guess, shout it out, nothing too formal here. How long do you think a qualified cloud engineer stays employed with one of your customers? What's the average tenure?
13.
13 what?
Months.
9 months. 9 months. So on either coast, base salary for a qualified cloud engineer is about $250. Middle of nowhere, where I'm from, Arkansas, let's go there, about $150, right? I love Arkansas. If anybody else is from Arkansas, talk to me later. So it's 9 months before they get a better offer, more stock, RSUs, higher pay, better retention. This is one of the most difficult challenges, is to find, hire, train, and retain employees. Let's take another one. Determining the right cloud strategy. This is one of my, I love to go on customer appointments, just like Mercedes and Funk do as well. And I love it when I walk into a client and they let us know right off the bat, we're a 100% Microsoft shop. We want everything to go to Azure. Of course, it's a nice, polite Southern guy, raised in Arkansas. I shake my head and say, that's awesome. I'm glad that you know what your strategy is. But I also laugh, because that already lets me know that they're out of their element. If you don't remember anything else from my little talk today, remember this. There are a lot of clouds out there, and we do them all. We're technology agnostic. Whether it's Amazon Web Services, AWS, we're their largest and fastest growing partner. Google Cloud Platform, we're their exclusive go-to-market partner. Or Azure, Microsoft, we're a 5-time Partner of the Year with Microsoft. No one else has ever won that more than twice. We are co-founded with NASA, OpenStack, and then we also offer private dedicated cloud. So it really doesn't matter. We do them all, right? We want to align with what your customers' needs are. But back to the thing that I want you to remember. None of those clouds are better than the other. It is application dependent, right? The average customer today is running 6 to 8 clouds. I think my deck says 5, but that's industry, but our experience is about 6 to 8. Why? If you have a 20-year-old Oracle SAP application, that was not born in the cloud. That wasn't coded last 24, 36 months. That doesn't play well in what we call public cloud or the hyperscalers. Hyperscalers is just a reference to the Googles, the Microsoft Azure, and AWS, right? So that's probably going to go, not probably, it's going to go into a private cloud. However, back to Under Armour, if they have an app where you can order what you want online, and they want to track and customer satisfaction, customer behavior, things like that, that was probably coded in the last 3-5 years. That's probably perfect for AWS. So your customer is going to have a production environment. They're going to have a DevOps environment. They're going to have a business continuity or disaster recovery. They're going to have O365. They're probably going to have an ERP or Oracle SAP application. So there's 5 right there. It's a multi-cloud world. So whenever your clients say, we're going all in with AWS, it's probably because they've been through the Atlanta airport lately. Has anybody been through Atlanta lately? If you take the MARTA down there, AWS is thrown up all over that place. They are the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Everybody knows that, right? And just like the old saying from my telco days, I'm like you, nobody got fired for picking AT&T, right? So nobody usually gets fired for picking AWS. Doesn't mean that it's right, doesn't mean that it's good. From a performance perspective, performance means 2 things. It means spend. If you put your app in the wrong cloud, will it work? Probably, but the spend is going to be out of control and the application's not going to perform. So there's a lot of concerns they have. Let's go, Funk. But what we do is our normal go-to-market motion with you. And by the way, I'm going to teach you with 3 questions, 3 business questions, how to identify an opportunity. So you don't have to remember this. I'm going to send a nice follow-up anyway, so don't take notes. Just stay with me, right? So we have a pro services approach that Funk and Mercedes take you and your clients through. And we basically just want to understand what business outcomes, and these are the three questions basically. What do you want? What's your journey to cloud look like? What are your business outcomes that you want for your IT division this year, 24, 36 months? Are you having that employee problem? Are your servers getting old and you're facing a $500,000 CapEx refresh? CFOs don't typically like that. So is a CapEx to OpEx shift? Is your data center closing down? I've had a few clients that have raised the flag with 911. Our data center's closing down. We've got to do something. Now's maybe the time, right? So we understand what their business outcomes are. That's what we want you to understand. Number two, what are your critical applications that you run your business? That if they go down, you're dead in the water. So the e-commerce platform, again, for Under Armour to stay consistent, that would be a critical application for them. Some people, it might be email, right? Some people, it might be ERP. Usually they have 3 to 5 so that they can maximize their investment. So again, we are like you. We are the largest managed cloud provider in the world, and we are unbiased. We don't just have one arrow in our quiver. We seek to understand their business needs, understand their critical applications, and the third thing you need to find out is kind of sales 101. Do you have any worries, perceptions, concerns, any governance, compliance, FSMA, FedRAMP, NIST, PCI, that kind of stuff? Just sales 101 questions that we ask every day, right, in discovery. So we are unbiased. We have the leading technologies and definitely proven results. If you don't know anything about Rackspace, you'll know that our tagline is fanatical support. That's what every single employee, including myself, is measured and managed by. May 4th will be 4 years at Rackspace. I have never had one customer or partner escalation. Never. Come on, give it up. That's unheard of, right? All right. I know how hard you guys work when you're trying to turn up a network that takes 18 months and then you don't get paid for 20, right? So cloud is pretty much set it and forget it. Go ahead. All right, so a little bit of the brag sheet. So that was the kind of overall, a little bit about Rackspace. So we do have about 7,000 employees, 150,000 clients under management, and millions of applications under management. So when you ask your customer what their business needs or outcomes are, what their critical apps are, as soon as Mercedes and Funk hear what those applications are, with millions of apps under management, we already know because we've bench tested all those apps that are out there. We know where they're going to perform best from a performance perspective as well as ROI for the spend. Okay? So 3,300 cloud engineers, lots of stuff. Again, 1,200 Microsoft certifications. They're all there. We have some collateral in the back. And if you have access to the portal, or if you don't, I can get you access to the portal. There are over 200 pieces of code-brandable material in the portal. Okay? Go ahead, Funk. Gartner's Magic Quadrant. It's always nice to have a little bit of third-party validation. So it's a little bit of an eye test. It's the Magic Quadrant for public cloud, professional, and managed services. So the two accesses are ability to execute. That's very important. Doesn't matter if you sell it, can you implement it? And then completeness of vision, meaning the sprawl of the portfolio. Since we can do all of the cloud technologies that are there, that puts us in a really nice space right here. Okay? Now, of the roughly 7,000 employees, maybe 6,800, 7,000 employees, I'm in sales, I round up. So there's about 284 of us that carry a sales and marketing title and quota. The rest of us are all technologists and engineers. Okay? The way we're stood up, I would say Mercedes and Funk and I are generalists on the front end to make sure that you're getting taken care of, and we walk with you through the process. Standing behind us, we are organized in business units. We have a Microsoft business unit. That's all they eat, breathe, live, sleep. Same thing with AWS. Same thing with Azure. And they compete against each other to try to get in front of us to make sure that you guys are getting the best. So it's kind of fun internally. Okay? Go ahead. I like pictures, a little visual. This is our global footprint, 5 continents. We're everywhere. Now, this is just the picture of our facilities. This doesn't count. Keep in mind, we're the managed service providers arm for the hyperscalers that I've mentioned. So if you think about the AWS cloud, we have a piece of that pie. So when we manage customers in that environment, we can manage within their environment worldwide as well. So that is not depicted. Go ahead. A few of our customers, you'll recognize some of those names. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are yours. I hope so. So let's talk about that. We do not have a hands-off policy. We do not have a restricted list. If a client is an existing customer, you can work with them. If they are a potential new logo for us, you can work with them. Okay? But don't mistake it. We like to put big enterprise logos there on the, on the page just for some little recognition. But cloud is like your closet at home. It will fill up, they'll need more. So we love early adopters. Big or small, we love them all. I've had deals that have been 5 mailboxes. Happy to take it. Turned out that was a proof of concept. We got 10,000 more. That was a big deal. Okay? Go ahead. Click one more. So this is what your directors and VPs and CIOs are looking at. It's very complex IT. I would not want a CIO's job for anything in the world. I think that's got to be the loneliest job ever. But this is what they're looking at when you go from applications all the way down to making sure it's secure. You have from the applications, most of our companies use Workday and Citrix and Oracle and SAP, PeopleSoft, O365, just a lot in that one line item, right? You come on down, lots of different choices. Next slide for me. And then within that, just take one, AWS, and there's more complexity, and you can drill on down on that about 15 times. So I happen to hold a few certifications in AWS, and once you know one of the clouds is pretty transferable. So I'm not picking on them. I'm a big fan of AWS. AWS employs, wow. AWS employs 6,000 employees that just write code. Guess what they do? They write code. They do it very well, right? So when you think about a client, because their only choice today, because if you go direct to any of the hyperscalers, they're not going to help you build anything. They might offer a couple of tutorials, but it's on your client. So if your client has gone to an AWS or any of the clouds, they've had an IT guy drag and drop and build it themselves. Will it work? Yeah, sure. Was it the right platform for that application? And did they have the know-how to take all of the code those 6,000 people put into pretty little icons to drag and drop it, to build it correctly where it's going to manage spend and performance? Probably not. It's what we do with thousands of rackers every single day with ongoing education. We have AWS in our office, Microsoft in our office, all of them. Google is in our office and we're in theirs. We have very tight relationships and they count on us for being their managed service partner. So just last year, I kind of refer to these little icons as Lego pieces, right? Just last year, AWS threw 1,400 new Lego pieces into the toy box, so when your clients go to drag and drop, they have 1,400 more choices, and there were probably already about 4,500 in there. Very complex. Again, can their IT guy do it? Absolutely. Quick story, a few years ago, 2.5 years ago, I guess, I had a partner, like one of you, call me on the phone. I was driving from LA to Orange County. Said, hey, Justin, listen, I asked the 3 questions you asked me to ask. My customer is a 2-year-old startup. They have 12 employees, and they told me they're spending $1.2 million a month on AWS. They were an adware company. And they said, that can't be true. I said, yeah, it probably is. And they said, well, that spend is killing them. I said, set up a meeting. We went in. We closed it in 9 days. They shouldn't have been on AWS. They should have been in a private, dedicated environment. And we dropped that bill from $1.2 to $411,000 a month. That includes our management fee. And our management fee is a rate card. If you spend from X to Y, here's what it is. Very straightforward. Okay? Big stuff. I've not been able to get a hold of that sub-agent lately because with $80,000 a month commission check, he's been buying cars and houses and things. But each and every one of you have a 6-figure deal. You just don't know it. It's not like the telco days where you count a number of offices. I remember when I was in telco, had an opportunity for Gold's Gym, 3,300 locations. I got excited. A lot of employees, knew their IT spend, how many gyms around the country. That's a big network. Throw that out the window. Your clients you think are small that have one office might be spending a lot. Okay? All right, so again, we have a pro services approach. We're on outcomes based. We really just want to understand their needs, right? Their critical apps. We go to solve that. We worry about price last. Mercedes and Funk and myself, we're all equipped with a TCO model that we're completely transparent with. We'll let the customer see it. If they don't believe it, happy for the feedback. We've been doing this for 20 years. We know what it costs. And it's usually pretty illuminating to them, right? Cost is usually never an issue. Of course, we don't win all of them, but TCG won 42 last year. So, right? Go ahead. I want to talk with you about a company we acquired last year called Relation Edge. And Relation Edge is an application services management company, again with the ProServe approach. The only thing they do, so it's a standalone division within Rackspace, but they are part of the Rackspace family, is they focus on Salesforce.com. Now, you might think, really? SFDC, is that a big deal? Look at the chart. So, $139 billion market by 2020 with the 18% CAGR. That is huge. I don't know if any of you use SFDC or you have clients that use SFDC. We do. Everybody does, and on a big corporate side. And it's a great tool. It's only great, though, if you build it correctly so you can get the reports and management can get the reports out of it. Most people struggle with it. I've seen more deals come into the company, and they're all $80,000 pro services and 6-figure billing deals, so I wanted to call it out. Salesforce.com is a huge opportunity. Go ahead. Rackspace Managed Security is also an area that we shine. Not only will we go in and understand their infrastructure, their critical applications, put them and help them build them on the right platform so they are optimized from a performance and a spend perspective, as we've talked. But then we wrap those in our Rackspace Managed Security. You can see the stats on the page. That's another one of our divisions that kind of overarch all of the hyperscalers, right? We've got some phenomenal talent. A gentleman by the name of Brian Kelly, I'd like to call my friend. I drag him every chance I get to come to things like this or customer-facing opportunities. He is known in the cybersecurity world. Retired Air Force full bird colonel, NSA, CIA, State Department, and we're happy enough to have him and lucky enough to have him at Rackspace. You could not meet a more grounded individual. He has a whole team. If he can't make it, one of his direct reports usually will. Very impressive, very grounded, very humble. So keep that in mind as well. All right, so I want to throw up a couple just case studies of what we've done here. Johnson & Johnson, basically what they were trying to do is they had a lot of disparate IT organizations, so we helped them simplify those. That's the nut of that. and we saved them, I think, like $3 million a month. Next one. For Coinstar, we reduced their IT costs by 45%. Again, by making sure those critical apps are identified and they got on the right platform. Okay? Now, pretty bold statement, but I'm pretty comfortable today walking into a partner or a client and they just say, net, cloud's going to cost me more. Typically not. There could be, I've seen some rare instances where it has, but I'd say 99% of the time, I'm confident to say to a customer, not yours, because you would not be comfortable with it, but we'll save you probably 35% if you want to use that as a benchmark with a full TCO model, and we'll show you where we save that. Why am I comfortable at 35%? Because the real number is about 45%. Okay? So, let's get back to the questions. That's all we ask of you. We don't expect you to be a cloud engineer. We don't expect you to be an infrastructure expert. We just expect you to have a business conversation with your customer. Then we're going to come alongside with a pro services approach and sell with you. So I put a lot of questions, and again, you guys are going to get this information, so you don't have to write it down. Again, you open up the conversation. Let's talk about your cloud journey. Where are you at with that? There's another piece of information I'm going to send as a follow-up. It's the 2019 Right Scale report, and it's called The State of the Cloud in 2019. Again, not Rackspace, third party. Right Scale is very, very well known. And it breaks out in segmentation, not only for SMB, mid-market, enterprise, but it gives a continuum by percentages by those broken out markets. What percentage of customers are in contemplation mode, which ones are toying with it, which ones are in it pretty well, and then which ones are all in for cloud. Very interested reading, big pictures and big print, so it's not too terribly tough, at least for me. So I think you'll enjoy that. So these questions kind of play to that. So you open up, how's your journey to the cloud going? What does that look like for you? And more importantly, what are you trying to accomplish? What's the business outcome, right? So that's number one. Again, I love my green stars. Number two, I'm being repetitive for a reason. What are your critical business applications? And then number three, there's our sales 101. Do you have any special perceptions, worries, concerns, needs, have-to-haves? So there's your NIST, FSMA, FedRAMP, PCI. Do you have maintenance contract coming up on your gear that you're going to have to renew or do something else with? CapEx refresh. You don't have the employees to manage it. All those challenges that we already saw that CIOs are worried about, right? That's what a good lead looks like. Is William here? William Hyatt? Oh, there you are, William. Okay. So just get those three answers to the questions over to William. He puts it into the portal, customer name, customer address, customer URL, and in the notes section, he'll ask those questions. What are they trying to achieve? What are their critical applications? And then any worries, perceptions, concerns, or compelling events that are driving their decision-making process. What we do with that information is we go into our CRM systems and we just look, are they an existing customer? Again, it's not a problem. But if there's a signed dedicated rep, then I'm going to need to get it to that person instead of one of these two folks in the room. All right? Are they a new logo for us, an existing customer? And then are they considered in the enterprise space or are they considered mid-market? That's all we do with that information. We never go direct to your customer, ever, ever, ever. We circle with you, your lead, and we follow your guidance. Okay? There's a bunch of other stuff. I'll call out, what is your company currently leveraging for email? A lot of folks are still on Exchange. Actually found a global pharma company that's still on Lotus Notes, for God's sakes. So, you know, I call O365 as a little bit of the gateway drug. Everybody's pretty comfortable with outsourcing that and getting that off their plate. And then the thing is, let's let that settle for 3 to 6 months, go back in, and then we can start to add on to the conversation. Okay? So again, you're going to get all this information, but to take it one step further, I wrote a little email for you. And here's my ask, here's my challenge, right? Send your customer an email. I won't read it verbatim, but basically now that we've completed XYZ project, go to your existing customers, the ones you know, the ones that trust you, right? Wanted to talk about additional IT initiatives or goals that you have for your company this year. Interestingly enough, the latest Fortune 1000 CIOs answered a survey, and here are their top concerns. Are any of those yours? Any partner that has sent this email out, they've always gotten a response. Some of them circle the whole darn stack. Some of them talk about spend sprawl or optimization. A lot of them come back with security. There's usually 2 or 3 that are highlighted. That is your tee-up. You send that note out, you get it back, forward it over to me. I'll give you a response for them. So are Mercedes and Funk. And again, we're just trying to get the 3 things. What are you trying to achieve, right? What are the critical apps? When can we have a meeting, right? William will register that and bring it in, and we're good to go. So that's it. Again, I'm Justin Christensen, Mercedes, and Mr. Funk, and we're here. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
You're right about Office 365 being a gateway drug going out. You get them committed. The problem that I found out is that these larger companies such as yourself, you may not be the 800-pound gorilla, but you're the 600-pound gorilla. And when you have a problem, such as email, as an example, CEOs' emails out, you call them up, they'll get to you in 2 hours. You compartmentalize, the bigger companies compartmentalize all the trouble tickets, and all of a sudden you have to wait, and you have the main person of the company waiting down while you're committed outside infrastructure. So how do you guys overcome that problem specifically?
Oh, I'll give you the $20 later. You really didn't have to ask that. I appreciate you teeing me up, though.
Well, it's called PayPal. It's
Right.
a major player. You get disconnected 4 times before you get someone in the building you hope. You
Right.
know? So you guys are a large company.
Yep.
And me being the tech,
Yep.
is immediately thinking, I got to go through these gateways to get to somebody who knows what a computer is.
Right. Okay. Again, I'm going to go back to, our tagline is fanatical support. We are measured and managed by that. Customers have 3 ways to get to us. We're staffed 7/24. We do not staff down on mid or eve shifts. We have the same staffing globally, 7/24, 365. Okay? Customers can get a hold of us directly through you if you want to. They can enable you on the portal, but they can either send a ticket online and there's somebody there waiting. Every customer has a dedicated account team that sits in a pod. They can message us, they can send an email, or they can call.
And get somebody who's going to hear.
We don't have a triage that screens the call in level 1, 2, 3. You're getting to the expert right then, the first time, every time.
All right.
Hence, no escalation calls. Yeah.
I know you said that earlier, but
Yeah.
I want one additional question.
Sure.
Out of all your enterprise customers, how many, I say mid-market to enterprise, how many of them buy from you direct and not go through a vendor? If you figure a large CTO is not going to want to deal with basically a subcontractor, they're going to want to deal with you guys directly. So what are some of your stats if you want to share them with us?
Sure, happy to. All right, so a little kind of interesting history. So if you've never heard about the Castle, that's our corporate headquarters in San Antonio. Dan and Nate and some of the others, Miguel, they've all been there. So it was a mall, like with the Nordstroms and the Dillards and all that. It was kind of an abandoned mall because in San Antonio they built another one, so everybody kind of migrated over that. We bought that mall, 1.2 million square feet. We remodeled it. We still have the food court, and we've got the gym, and we've got the escalators. We have the slide. Dan, you've been down the slide, yeah? It's fast, isn't it? We almost make people sign a disclaimer. But Google Rackspace Castle and go to videos and watch it. That's something interesting. It'll speak a lot about our culture. But the first 800, we're 20 years old, so the first 800 million in revenue that we had, because we were primarily San Antonio based at that point, was all inbound calls, people working and chatting with us and all of that. And then later years, we've started to sprawl out a little bit. But our go-to-market strategy is based on partners. We don't have a lot of brick and mortar offices. How many brick and mortar offices? Not our data centers. We have an office in New York, maybe 3.
Yeah, 3 or 4. And they're
Mexico City.
just there to be an office and have phones in it, really.
Yeah, we don't have. So the only way our revenue goals for ourselves, frankly, are going to work is if we rely on partner relationships. So we do have field-based enterprise sellers. Mercedes is one. She's based right here in South Florida. You're up in Boca. How many of you and your peers do we have? Maybe 10? 7. 7 nationwide. Okay? So Mercedes has a list of about 25 named accounts that she is expected to penetrate. Now, she can cold call those and try to get in, but she's here today. Number one, she used to be a partner, right? But she came aboard with us. She knows the power of the channel. She wants to leverage your possible relationships, do some account mapping with you, and go in together. The last thing I'll say is that just like telco, I think it's a fair question. Your question could be applied to telco. Does a customer want to sit through 6 meetings with AT&T and Sprint and CenturyLink and I would say Windstream, but they're not doing so well today. No, they would rather just go to their trusted advisor, their broker, to say, give me the 3 bids, Goldilocks, this bed's too soft, this one's too hard, this one's just right, right? So we find that most customers are leveraging channel. We really don't have, I would say, a strong, meaning in terms of numbers, direct sales force. Today, 90% of our stuff is all inbound. Now, if you get William that registration, it comes in, it gets assigned to one of those, but your customer swivel chairs and decides to chat us up, first thing they do is they're going to see that's already registered, they're going to send it right back to me. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.